Howdy folks, the LP Guru here signing in for Let's Play Final Fantasy 1 Episode 4. We're picking up right where we paused things in the previous episode. We'll be seeing how much progress we can make. We need 394 experience points to level up. We're going to be exploring some of the wooded area around town. See if we can't run into some more ogres, since that seems to be a really good way to level up and fast. I'm sure we'll also run into some scorpions at some point as well. Ooh, this looks dangerous. Maybe it won't be too bad. As long as they can just keep on attacking the warrior, then we are good. Yeah, and now with the weapon upgrade for the warrior, he's easily taken down a single crazy horse in one round. Unless he doesn't get 2 hits, then of course then it takes more than 1 round. Yeah, once you get shield put on both spellcasters, you're pretty much guaranteed to win. The only risk factor that still exists is if Sabin or Monk were to be ganged up on. But that was a good bit of experience, to be honest. I didn't even pay attention as to what we received in that fight, but we're now under 300, so that was a pretty good chunk. Yeah, looks like everybody's still okay health-wise. I'm not going to waste any magic on that. But yes, once you can safely make it to Provica and you have saved your progress, it's safe to start trying to level grind off of the enemies in this location. But as always, when you've reached a new area, stay as close to town as possible. I know I sound like a broke record now. I'm trying my best not to, but it is that important. But also try to stay in the wooded area like this, because the grassy area south of town is where these scorpions tend to be, I believe. Right now it wouldn't be that big of a deal because we do have, a few antidote, but they have a very high chance of poisoning any of your party members, so it's the best practice is to really just avoid that area altogether until you have either a very good stockpile of antidotes or once you have the appropriate restorative spell that cures one of being poisoned. That's just easier, because I have been in several fights before where I have literally used an antidote. I've learned this the hard way, but I've literally used an antidote to remedy a character, and then either that same character was poisoned again or someone else was. But this stage of the game, at this stage, I think I left out the word I had, but at this stage in the game, you really can't afford to allow any one character to remain poisoned for more than one round, because it does drain, health relatively quickly. So that's why you have to use an antidote quick. But the downside to doing so is that if someone has been cured of poison, they can be poisoned again very quickly. So it's a catch-22. But scorpions do tend to give a good bit of experience, I believe. So, once again, with greater risk tends to come greater reward, but you just have to be careful. You gotta be mindful. Because in this game, carelessness can very quickly come back to bite you. Starting to see more enemies from earlier in the game around the Temple of Chaos area. That was a pretty nasty hit the monk took, so I'm gonna make sure that he's all healed up, or close to it at least. Speaking of close to, we should be close to a level up. Kind of 120 points remaining. I have to venture a little further north. The ogres are around here somewhere, I promise. They tend to live in heavily wooded areas. But it's just a matter of encountering them. That's the problem. But yes, this is one of the first areas of the game that really allows you to level grind relatively easily. Here we are again with more of the crazy horses. This is definitely to the point of rinse and repeat. We're almost to the level where even monsters such as these aren't really much of a threat, but just to be safe, I want to keep placing shield on the spellcasters. Why, that is just lovely. when a spell doesn't take at all. It's one of the reasons why status inflicting spells, they're great when they actually stick, but that's the trick. That's kind of the toss-up. You never really know. You never really know if they're going to stick, but when they do, they're very handy. Yes, this next story element doesn't really require you to be at too high of a level, but again, personal preference, I like to try to be at least level 8 before taking it on if it's possible. But now, these kind of fights, these kind of scenarios, it's where it can get dangerous quick. When you have the enemy strikes first type of scenario. As the name implies, all the enemies are going to turn first. And that's another reason why I always emphasize to keep everyone at as close to max hit points as possible. Because you never know when you're going to get into the type of fight where the enemy gets to strike first, gets to act first, and if any one of your characters are low on health, or if the majority of your party is low on health, you could very easily find yourself in a losing situation very quickly. Alright, now we're all hitting level 8. And with this level up, I will go and rest up and save our progress. And we will move right ahead with the story. I think I stated this in the previous episode, but I try my best to not have too much just random fighting in any given episode. I try to... Alright, dude. Well, what are we gonna do? Stand here and stare at each other all day? Oh, come on, don't go back that way. Here, maybe if I move to the side, you'll take the hint. Thank you. But yes, I try not to have any given episode full of just random fighting. I always try to progress the story in some form. But just as a heads up, there will be some episodes where There's just no getting around it. But when those kind of episodes do arise, I will try my best to level up as much as possible. This is a relatively straightforward boss fight. Well, really I consider this to be more of a mini boss fight, but there's not a lot of those in this game, so technically this is considered a boss fight, even though by now it's just like a normal random encounter. However, I try to be at least level 7 or 8, depending, simply for the reason of spellcasters having enough health. Because once again, I have experienced it where the majority of these pirates have ganged up on a single character, especially a spellcaster, and that can be quite devastating since they don't have high quality armor of any kind. With the pirates' cronies having been taken care of, he hands over his ship. As is the case with Cornelia, there are certain people you can talk to that will give you direction as to where you need to head next, and I'm trying to find those people. Also, something else you may notice compared to the previous episode is more people are out and about in the town now that we have taught the pirates a lesson, which means they were all in hiding beforehand. Okay, I believe she's the one who tells us the info we need to read. But I think she only gives a piece. Making sure there's nobody else over here, and there's not. I think she only gives a piece of the events that we need to read about. I don't think this dude gives anything. Now he kind of tells something of a little bit of importance. So, having said that, really gives you the indicator that there are no more docks north of here, now we need to head south. Yeah. Alright, you're like the third person that's told us the same thing, so. Next. Yeah, I saw that. I saw this dude. I just gotta get over to him. Yes, and Melmond is going to be a very, very important town in the future. We will, don't worry. We just have to get there first. Talking to one more person. Alright, so having learned what we have learned, we definitely have the money. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the I think lightning. Nope, it's not here. No, it must be coming up. But I will go ahead and grab steel while we're here. So this being the case that lightning is not in this town. Alright dude, we're gonna do this again. Wanna rest up, save progress, because as the last person that we talked to stated, the sea can be very dangerous. Do not take that hint lightly. Do not. And make sure to save your progress here before hitting the open waters, or you may not live to regret it. It's like with each new area that was, programmed into the game, the developers really made it a point to make things so much more challenging. Just add, more challenging factors. Now, a note of interest. We need to head south, which is what we're starting to do. What I may still do, I will, just so that we can grab the lightning spell. We will need it. We will need it to safely traverse all these are the first of the fights that really give a lot of money, and I have gone a little too far west, I'm assuming. Yeah, I passed it. I passed it. I needed to go. I needed to go south a little bit more, and I missed it. But yeah, since you tend to earn so much money on the open sea, there's now no longer a reason to hold back on staying at an inn as often as is needed. But I'm sure you've also noticed with each new town that is reached, the cost at an inn also increases. Look at that, 480 gil in a single fight. Alright, there we go. But these fights can also be dangerous. They're both ogres and gigas worms. Pack a pretty mean punch. But once you get to this point in a fight, you're pretty much guaranteed to win. I mean, you're still gonna take some damage. I mean, that ogre is always going to punch through whatever armor you have in place, especially if it's not the warrior that is singled out. Yeah, we've already jumped back up to almost 2,000 gil in, like, I don't even think 5 fights. And we're dropping on down with the amount of required experience. This town was never actually named in Provica, but it is called Elfheim. I'm not actually going to stay right this second. I'm just looking to see what the cost is. Okay, 100. Wow, a whopping 100 gil just to stay. Alright, that's good to know. And for once, this is the starting point where magic actually takes precedence over weapons and armor, simply because it costs so much. Okay, so as you'll notice, it's actually not called lightning, it's called bolt. But this has the second level. This has the second level for a lot of things. So I'm wondering, I don't believe I missed anything earlier in the game as far as being able to pick up bolt. Unless, you know what? I did. I think bolt 1. I'm still gonna look around really quick, but I think bolt 1 was in Cornelia, which we can still go back and get, but that's not super high on the priority list right now. As you can see, Elfheim, since the town is related to elves, is very, 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 very chock full of magic. I believe there's 4 different magic shops in this town, and these are the next levels for the white mage, as you can read. and all the different spells. This shop introduces a very important note of interest. You have Cure 2, which is the next level up from Cure 1, and you also have Heal 1. Now, the descriptions for each are: Cure 2 restores 33 to 66 hit points of any one character. But as always, you have to select the character. But Heal 1 allows you to restore 12 to 24 hit points to all allies. So the entire party, including the white mage, has their hit points restored. Both spells cost 1,000 gil, so they're balanced and equal in that one regard. But the main factor that needs to be taken into consideration is that Heal 1 restores 12 to 24 hit points to everyone in the party. Cure 2 restores 33 to 66 hit points to a single character. It's just one of those moments where you have to decide. It's going to take a little bit of time to save up all the money that's needed. Because right now, at this point in the game, Nullifier isn't needed. We're not going to encounter anything where that's going to be beneficial. So we could actually, obviously, we don't have enough money to do this, but when we do have at least 3,000 gil saved up, we could purchase Cure 2, Dia 2, and Heal 1, and then later in the game, we just need to decide on which of those 3 spells, which one I would get rid of and, assign a Nullifier in its place. And this is also an age-old debate. A lot of people have said that they didn't like this factor in the original game, that it made things really unfair to have to choose. But the way I look at it is, it just adds another layer of depth and strategy that is missing from a lot of current RPGs, especially some of the more recently released Final Fantasy games themselves. Never thought I would hear myself say that, but it's true. So what I typically like to do, and again, not saying that there's any one right way to go about doing things, but right now, I probably won't buy anything from here, for the white mage. But just while we're on the screen and I have a quick minute, I will say this much: at this point in the game, you are not really encountering enemies and just scenarios where the entire party is being hit. So for now, it is safe to continue along the path of getting Cure 2. But before entering the next dungeon, it would definitely be worth your while to double down and get Heal 1 as well. So, if you start off with Cure 2, make sure to get Heal 1. Or if you opted for Heal 1 first, make sure to get Cure 2. Point being, the next dungeon we're going to enter into, that's where a lot of strategies on the enemy's part changes. and there will be more than one character taking damage at the same time, kind of thing. But for now, we will save our money and look at the other spell shops. This is for level 4 white magic, I believe. Why am I even having to think about it? It says it right here on the screen. Really? Okay, so also another really long, not really long, but an age-old debate that has existed for a long time. There you go. That's what I'm trying to say. Is the pronunciation of the spell that is selected. Personally, I would call it Asuna. It's existed in pretty much every Final Fantasy game. And up until, I believe it was Final Fantasy X, which is the very first voice acted game. Up until then, it was never, the spell was never pronounced by anyone. I don't even think it was actually pronounced in Final Fantasy X. It was a different Final Fantasy when I first heard it pronounced, and it was at that very moment that I began to question my entire life because the way that the characters pronounce this spell is Esuna. So, yeah. I mean, sometimes I still catch myself, calling it Asuna. Asuna, Esuna, tomato. It's one of, it really is one of those kind of things. So it really doesn't matter to me how someone pronounces a spell name. I mean, so long as everyone else can, understand, what the spell is that's being talked about. That's the main thing. But yes, definitely, this would make a very interesting topic in a general sense. But most definitely, sound off in the comments section for this episode. I know I may not necessarily be able to hear how you are pronouncing it because you'll have to type your comment out, but do whatever it takes. If you need to spell the word out a certain way to emphasize how you pronounce it, do so, please. I'm just, I'm interested to see, if I'm the only one who has ever pronounced it Asuna, if other people have, if most people have. This be, fun to see. And while I'm on the topic of sounding off in the comments, please, any of my videos, not just this one, not just this entire project, any episode I ever post, please, feel free. Subscribers, random viewers alike that are just randomly finding me on YouTube, sound off. Let me know what you think. I do. I really, really do value everyone's feedback. Alright, so moving right along. The only thing that has changed, aside from the pronunciation of this spell, is that in Final Fantasy I, the spell cures poison, in future Final Fantasy games, it will have a much more broad use than simply curing poison. But this is a highly sought after spell. This is the one I was talking about back when we were in Provica, talking about scorpions and poisons and everything. But as you can clearly see, it costs a whopping 2,500 gil. So we will be holding off on that for now, mostly because we don't have the money for it. But when you do have the money for this spell, this is hands down one of the most important spells in the entire game. No question. No question there. So, what they're doing is probably going, getting a bunch of fights on the open water, save up, and stock up on, well, not stock up, but buy everything that's needed. So, Asuna or Esuna cures poison, fear, drives foes away in terror. It's kind of comical to see, but aside from that, the spell really has no use. I mean, yeah, especially when you can only assign 3 spells. So, that means that Esuna, Null Ice, and Vox will be rounding out the level 4 white magic tier for the white mage. Vox is also very handy because it cures mute, which mute is interchangeable with silence, so Vox is the remedy to, I believe, the actual silence spell. But since all 4 spells, or all 3 that we would get, are out of our price range, we're gonna blow this popsicle stand and head on to another spell shop. And this is the black magic equivalent shop for level 4 spells. Now, the contrast here compared to Sleep 1 is that Sleep 2 puts a single, I know the word single isn't in there, but I'm emphasizing here, put a single foe to sleep. Its success rate is much higher compared to Sleep 1. However, the negative trade-off is that you can only target 1 enemy with this spell, which for me personally makes it not worth the money. Haste doubles frequency of an ally's attacks, which is very nice. Haste paired with the Still spell for the Black Mage will soon make the warrior almost OP. Yeah, almost overpowered at this point in the game. Future areas, not so much until we level up much more. Muddle, as you can read, confuses all foes, but like any spell that can target multiple enemies, the success rate is naturally lower compared to a spell that targets a single enemy. But this is also very useful. I would say this is much more useful than Sleep 2, because at least then you'd have Sleep 1, so you have the chance of putting multiple foes to sleep. You have Slow 1 already that decreases the frequency in which all enemies attack, and once you acquire Muddle, you have the chance of confusing all enemies. It's actually much more effective to confuse the enemies than put them to sleep, because confused enemies will actually help you out by attacking other enemies. But a very important note of interest and importance is once an enemy that is confused is attacked either by you, the player, you choose to attack them, or if they attack themselves because they're confused, or if another confused enemy attacks an enemy that has the confused status element on them. Point is, once a confused enemy receives any kind of damage, well, I don't know if it's any kind. I think it is. I don't think it's just physical damage. Once it receives physical or magic-based damage, their confusion ends and they return to normal. Now, obviously, if they're defeated first, then it doesn't matter. But if they're still around, there's no, okay, confusion is over. They're going to come after you like they normally would. And then Ice 2 inflicts 40 to 160 ice damage. So nothing of real importance there. It's just the simple next level up from the Ice 1 spell. And I think I have found, them all. I'm gonna look one more time. It's where we started. That's the item shop. I mean, I can run in here real quick just to show off all they have. I think it's, yeah, it's pretty much the same except for I think like gold needle, and there's something else that's new, but I don't recognize what it is right off. But with each new town we get to, the item shop is also going to be really, really important. Sometimes an item shop is even more important than a spell shop, because the item shops are always going to have new items that cure newer status elements that you're going to run into. They're going to have those kind of items in stock before you're going to come across a spell shop that can do the same thing, with magic. So just bear that in mind. Always, and like at that, well, not at this point, but with Provoca, because I don't think Cornelia had antidotes. We'll find out soon enough, because I'll be going back there, doing a little bit of backtracking in the near future. So I may stand corrected. I don't know yet, but yeah, that's the main takeaway here. Always check out the item shop. Thankfully, right now, we're not going to run into any enemies that are capable of inflicting the petrify or stone status. So we don't have to worry about gold needles just yet. I'll go ahead and take a look. The armor shop. Normally, well, actually, I take that back. At first, I thought that said 80 gil, then I realized it is 800 gil, so never mind. I will not be buying two, even though we could afford two of them. No, I will. I'll go ahead and buy one of them. I should emphasize. You can also completely outfit everyone. I don't think I'll have enough money to get a weapon. But I may. I'll look around. Look at that. I forgot to equip the leather shield earlier. Whoopsie. If I'm being completely honest, I completely forgot that. I haven't bought it though. But here you can at least see the direct parameter difference. The leather shield only has a defense value of +2, and the iron shield is +4. So go ahead and get that equipped. Same for helmet, get it equipped. Steel plate will stay, and I think no, nothing new. Nothing new. Not gonna give that to the warrior, no need. Shield, I don't think ever applies for the monk or any of your spellcasters. But see, copper armlet is super important because it's the first one that actually gives your spellcasters a decent amount of defense, while also there we go, hit the leather cap, while also raising their evasion just a little bit. Alright, so got everybody outfit with armor. That should make the fights a little bit easier. And I may have already shown off all 4 magic shots. So I'm just gonna come on to the weapon shop. We'll look around. So right now we have, for the warrior, we have his best weapon equipped, the mithril. That's another word, mithril or mithril. It's another thing to sound off in the comment section about. But it is a whopping 3,200 gil, so that will definitely be weighted on. But in the meantime, the iron nunchucks, or a nunchaku, if I am not butchering that, and I hope I'm not, I'm hoping I'm not, but that's definitely the weapon to be bought for our monk. And we have enough money to go ahead yeah. I was well. No, I'll probably get. Yeah, sorry, sorry everybody. I'm out loud. I'm externally trying to figure out. But I was gonna go ahead and save progress. We'll try to get in a few fights, and I'll try to get in a few more fights. Okay, and the Cobra is also capable of inflicting poison. It is the second enemy that can do so, with the Scorpion being the first, and as just witnessed, Vivi has been poisoned. And so has Cloud. But the fight's over, so thankfully wasn't too bad. So what's nice though is that single fight just preemptively paid for our stay at the inn. And this is another reason I'm actually glad that happened, because it gives me the opportunity to say this. Around the Elfheim area, that's not the best place to try to um, level grind. It's the it's the first location that breaks the mold, where in the past it is safe to hang around town and try to level grind. Here it's not, because you have enemies that can very easily poison, as just witnessed. So it's best to actually take to the open seas and level grind there, and really, and more importantly, save up money, because as witnessed with Elfheim, the emphasis here is, even though weapons and armor are pretty nice in this town, magic is definitely where it's at. So that's really going to be the emphasis in the next episode. We're going to be hitting the open seas and becoming bajillionaires. Well, maybe not quite that rich, but you will be seeing our gil increase a lot, and very quickly. As always, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and I'll catch y'all on the next episode. LP Guru, signing out.